Hello, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to episode 9 of season 2. Today, I'm discussing business disruptions turning around personally and professionally. I want to thank Tasneem Lakrawala, Suneet Pai, and Manbir Dua for graciously agreeing to be very brave and join on this session. Welcome, the three of you. Tasneem Lakrawala, she's a financial services leader. She's a qualified accountant and a certified fraud examiner with several other degrees in business management, administration, and consulting spaces. She's an experienced leader in the financial services with over 25 years of experience. Her main areas of expertise include driving accelerated change in complex business environments, operationalizing strategy, enterprise risk management, helping corporates set up and develop business in emerging markets, including leadership, coaching, and learning delivery. She has worked with Arthur Andersen, Ernst& Young, Deloitte, WNS Global Services, and with many other startups as well. Tasneem is a keen marathon runner and a traveler. She's traveled across several countries and brings with her vast global experience. Tasneem, delighted to have you here. Welcome. Suneet Pai. Suneet is a very dear friend, a mentor and a guru, and has been one and remains one. By profession, he's a hospitality consultant and a serial entrepreneur. He's a BSc in chemistry and physics and an additional graduation from the IHM Mumbai, as we most popularly know as the Dadar Catering College. He's worked with the Taj Mahal Hotel in Mumbai in the kitchen, probably his first and last service job. He had partnered many restaurants, Malhar, Viva Paschim, to name a few. For those of you who remember, Viva Paschim at Worli. He's an F&B consultant with wide experience in consulting hotels, clubs, hospitals, restaurants, sports bars, bakery chains across India. Suneet advises a 360-degree approach and specializes in turning around business and making them profitable. He's a pragmatic leader with an eye for detail, extremely creative, and has always been ahead of his times. He's a quality businessman, a risk taker, and a super negotiator. Suneet says it as it always is. He's a friend and a guide for a quick reality check anyone could have. Don't go by this picture of his. He's lost loads and loads of weight. Thank you, Suneet, for trying to stay healthy. Look forward to having the conversation with you and welcome aboard. Manbir Dua, a very old dear friend, ex-colleague, and thank you, Manbir, for being here. Manbir is a chef by profession. He's a chefpreneur and now a consultant. An alumnus of the IHM Aurangabad, he has secured a diploma in culinary arts and kitchen administration. With almost 20 years of experience in the food and beverage industry, he has worked with the best national and international brands of hotels, restaurants, cruise liner, of course, the Taj group of hotels. He set up his first company, Aura Entertainments, way back in 2009, and was involved in F&B consulting and outdoor catering, even when he was, when he started his own company. Manbir co-founded S&M Food Wizards Private Limited with two restaurant brands. We'll speak about them a little later. And during that time also he consulted for many startups. His strengths are in projects, kitchen, and general management. Some investor and franchisee related cobwebs led to a formal closure of most of his business ventures. And Manbir has been very, very brave and gracious to come on board and talk about that part of his journey. And I am grateful for Manbir to do that. He's still standing tall and strong and growing. Manbir, thank you. Whilst I have your attention, take a quick snapshot. Coming on this Saturday at 5 p.m., I'm speaking with three young and not very young chefs on Culinary Craft Part 2 on passion, performance, and pain. I have young Niti Meyer, who's a lawyer by profession, but has turned to baking, and she has a firm called Legally Baked. Yazad Gandhi, who joins us all the way from Melbourne, and Manish Khanna, who owns Brownie Point and Noir. That's on Saturday. Next week is my last week. with Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday being the last ones. So on Tuesday, on 22nd, I'm speaking with these three lovely gentlemen on discovering your purpose and walk in your calling. Please join in. It's going to be a fantastic one, very, very inspirational, and why each of these people chose to follow their purpose and do what they're doing now against what they were trained to do. Thursday, I am speaking with three super women who have been giving back selflessly, and they continue to do so. Take a snapshot, register, all registrations are open. Speaking with Dr. Ketna Mehta, Sherry Yazdani, and Urvi Mehta. Urvi and Dr. Ketna don't have any relation together, just except for their surnames. And then on season finale, next Saturday, 5 p.m., the power of sales, balancing emotions and the dilemma of metrics. I'm speaking with Mahima, Lalit, and Inam as season 2 finale. With that, I'm going to stop my screen share and request my panelists to come live, and we can start this conversation.
Hello, everyone. So good evening, everybody. I'd firstly like to thank Satyan sir for having me here. As you all well made out into the PPT, that my journey has been of some massive ups and downs in my professional career. It's been a lot of fun, and like it rightly said at the end, that I'm still standing tall, and I'm already working on future plans. 2020 was supposed to be a year when I was going to start a new business altogether. But as we all know, financial year 2020 never actually started. But yes, it's been a lot of fun. And I'm looking forward to this conversation to learn a lot from Ms. Tasneem Lakdawala and Mr. Pal. And yeah, I will be more than happy to take a lot of question answers, help other people through their journeys if possible. As of right now, what I do, I consult. I help people open new projects is what I do. And the gamut of specialization, I started out as a chef into service operations. I've done everything from, washing utensil to doing a billing. So everything that comes in between to, operate a restaurant or an F&B outlet. And yes, I'm looking forward to having a wonderful conversation today.
Thank you. Suneet, you want to unmute? Yeah.
No, go ahead. Oh, you want me to speak now?
Yeah, I wanted to welcome you and say hello to the audiences.
Yeah, hello everybody. This is Suneet Pai. Satyan has said everything about me. I have nothing more to add.
The quintessential Suneet Pai. Great. So, great. Tasneem, are you there? Can't see you. Seem to have lost you.
I am here very much. I just can't get my window on. But Indra and very soon. I've got consulting experience.
Suneet, can you just mute yourself? I think the azan behind is, just mute yourself for now till you're talking. Suneet? Yeah, thanks.
Thank you for that, Satyan. So sorry, I'll start again. My name is Tasneem. I've got about 25 plus years of experience, predominantly worked in the financial services sector, but also done a lot of work with startups and with SMEs. And looking forward to an interesting conversation, both with Suneet and with Manbir. And we'll share whatever insights I have basis the advice or the guidance I've given to some of these companies.
Great, thank you. So, before I really go deep dive into the main topic, I really want to ask each of you one by one, and I'll probably start with you, Tasneem, then move to Manbir, and then to Suneet. The last couple of months have been very, very disturbing and challenging for all of us, personally, professionally, okay? Tell us, Tasneem, what have you learned, one thing about yourself that you were not aware of, but you kind of got hidden in the last 6 months about yourself, that one trait or one good thing or one bad thing that you realized about yourself?
Oh, that I can be a lazy person and I can give up my OCD, right? But no, on a serious note, I think I do tend to get very impatient sometimes, wanting things to get completed on time and, very particular about project plans and sticking to deadlines and sticking to timelines. And I think this whole COVID scenario has just taught us how, no matter the best laid plans don't work as per that, right? And it's really thrown every single possibility or option out of way. And I was just thinking back at the beginning of the year, when all of us so excitedly rang in the new year, I'm sure like everybody saying, okay, this is the plan for 2020 and this is what we want to do. I think 2020 is going to be like a year to remember. And of course, it's taught me a lot in the last 6 months specifically. But yeah, it's been a learning experience, that's all I can say. And I'm just glad that I got that time to sit back a little bit and breathe and, get some other things sorted out on a priority basis.
Excellent. Manbir, what did you discover about yourself in the last 6 months?
The biggest learning was that I could stay at home without making other people mad around me. I'm not a person who stays at home too much, but definitely yes. So first 15, 20 days a month was like a holiday, I guess, for everybody else. Then reality dawned. And I've been quite good, actually. I think healthy living was something that went into me. It might not look so, but it definitely has. But yes, it's also, helped and questioned me professionally, because as a consultant, the big question was or still is that how will things open up? When will they open up? How would the markets react? And it still is a learning. I guess every week or 10 days, I'm talking to suppliers, I'm talking to restaurant owners, I'm talking to my previous clients, current clients, as to what's happening. And so the funny part of it is that I was just talking to somebody a while back that the 18, 19 years of experience that I've had pre-COVID actually now accounts for zero, because everything from now, at least if you talk about sales, if you talk about numbers, because as a consultant, you have to sell numbers, right? You have to, it's a very big part of what, for any business, forget being a consultant, but for any business. And, we're just trying to churn the numbers all over again, your rental costs, your food costs, your salary costs. It's wonderful, it's scary, but it's wonderful both at the same time. So it's learning, like you learn all your life, and this is a jolt. So, but yeah,
Great.
It is fun.
Thanks. I'm going to come back on those number games and the whole dilemma of the credibility of a consultant in today's times. Okay, so I'm going to pick you and all your brains in a bit. So hold on to that.
For a tough session today.
Suneet, if you can unmute and tell us what you've learned about yourself.
Well, I am at that stage of life where I am simple. Anyway, I had prepared myself 5 years ago to change a profession from day-to-day physical activity with mental activity. So I have become professional trader. So for me, COVID period has been actually active business period. So that way I am always busy between 7 o'clock in the morning till say around 4:30, 5 o'clock in the evening. So I'm busy except weekends. I would have been in Canada, but for this COVID period, I was migrating to Canada. This COVID period has set me back by 1 year. And the important thing, rather than learning, I delivered. I always believed human mind is the most powerful thing on earth. I always cursed myself that I had a very strong will and mind power for my business activities and all other activities. But when it comes to my personal health, I abused myself, my body, my health, everything. And cursed myself, where did my willpower vanished when it came to my personal health? Well, this COVID period made me focus on my personal health, because other than trading, I had no physical activity. So I used that ability to focus, and with the help of pure diet and exercise, I lost 16 kgs. I feel good, I feel healthy. So that is on gain side, other than what money I made on market, but that I would make irrespective of COVID or no COVID.
Thank you, Sunit. Thank you. I have always been an admirer of yours, you as a human being, your clear thought and straightforwardness. And thank you. And you have really amazed me with your weight loss. Stay healthy and keep inspiring. It'll take some more.
Thank you.
It'll take some more inspiration from you to inspire me, but that's for a different day's conversation. All right, getting back straight to the topic of turning around of business disruptions, and this business disruption conversation is not just necessarily going to be restricted towards COVID and this pandemic and all the disruptions that have happened, but essentially about some of the learnings that we all have had in our lives at some stage or the other with the business disruption. Either we've lost business, we've shut down businesses, we've changed business lines, and we've someone like Tasneem who has seen fancy business houses go from way up to down in no matter of time. So we're going to speak about business disruptions and I'll try and touch as many touch points as I can. So I want to invite Sunit. You want to start off this conversation about the business disruption and turning around professionally and personally. You have something to share with us and take us through that very quickly?
Yeah. Okay. Before I share, I just want to make one point. What I'm going to share with you is not from any management school, management college, management book. It is straight out of Sunit Pai's experience book. So the points what I have written down need not be something which you will find in any books or any college, or maybe, but fundamentally it is my experience. Because the only management school I went was Dadar Catering College. The rest is my knowledge when I worked in Taj, and then number of businesses I did over the last 35 years. So let me share with you. To discuss turnaround, I thought I should jot down points. So I discuss with you in a very structured way. So I will discuss that, and maybe as and when, if the time permits, we could have a question and answer on points what I'm making. So let me share with you.
So audience, so whilst Sunit is sharing his screen, for those of you who've joined in new, there is a Q&A button in front of you. You could drop in your messages there, and I will take it up with the audience, with the panelists from time to time. And for those of you who are waving, like Kshitij and Harsh, thank you. We are waving back at you. Thank you for being here. Delighted. Sunit, go ahead, all yours.
Yeah, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So let us start. Turnaround. The word turnaround itself means that there is something wrong with my direction. Therefore, I need to turn around. So basically, turnaround is something going bad, wrong, down in any business activity. And it is a process of changing of direction from losses to profit making. Now, I have divided this activity in 4 parts. One is analysis, the other is solution, next is implementation, and the last is evaluation and fine-tuning. So let us start. Analysis. Recognizing the deterioration is the first part of turning around process, because a lot of business people, though things are not doing well, you are getting telltale signs that something is going wrong, fail to accept because various reasons. I don't want to go into reasons because then this discussion will go long. But the fact remains, people refuse to recognize the telltale sign which they notice but refuse to do anything about it. The other reason is people get complacent with belief that things will get right and not on its own, because they think it's a momentary. They fail to realize that winds have changed. They think the winds will change back. But it's not a weathercock in business. It is Either you get into negative cycle or positive cycle that the business is. The moment you're in negative cycles, you go deep and deep because you start cutting corners. Cutting corners leads to compromising quality. Compromising quality leads to down number of customers, and you continue doing the same thing. You're in negative cycle. Positive cycle is somewhere everything goes right because you make a lot of money, everything's fresh, everything is good. You pump in more money, do marketing, and business grows. Detach from emotional attachment during assessment and course of rectification. We being humans tend to get emotionally attached to our business and fail to assess the real damage, or if it is a family business, sentiment. This is my grandfather's business, this is my father's business, it can't go wrong, and all so on and so forth. Please detach, because that is the first step to turn around. Emotionally attached to your business is never going to help you to turn around. Find the real reasons for business going bad. Don't beat around the bush. Be ruthless in your analysis to find out. I don't mind you thinking worst scenario possible. I am a believer who went into any business, turning around or a fresh business, working out the worst downside I can get into when I went into that business. And I prepared for it. If I could handle the worst downside of my business, then I knew if I was wrong, only things will get better because I worked the worst downside. And I'm not going to complain if things go wrong to my calculation. It is like when I'm trading. When I take a trade, I put a stop loss after I've entered. I consider I've lost that money which I have apportioned to that trade. So if the trade goes wrong, I don't get hurt because I was prepared to lose that much money. Whereas if the trade goes according to my calculation, I'm happy because I've made a lot of money. So find out the real business why it went bad. The analysis should be professional. If you are not capable, please use outside help, preferably a professional outside help. Study the marketplace if new leaders have emerged. These ones should have presence of considerable time and not by fly-by-night concepts. I mean, one of the reasons could be you are old, new things have happened, new leaders have emerged. You need to study them if they have affected you. Find out why these places overtook you. Imagine future trends based on changing environmental surroundings, your place of business. This is the analysis. It should be honest analysis because that is the first step to turn around, because now you know I need to do something because there is something wrong with me. And this is what is wrong with me? This is what is wrong with me. Once that is done, the next step is to find solution. Now the solutions could be various. The first could be very minor, that is, if the issue relates to the operational inefficiency or labor problem of quality of the product, pricing, one needs to set them right by going down to root cause and taking corrective measures. This is what part of any management process goes. That you are supposed to keep on checking your operational efficiency and quality assurance and pricing. All these things you should have a SOP and then standard quality checks and corrective measures built in your operative manual. And they should help you if these are suffering. If operationally everything is okay and the downturn in business is due to multiple new entrants, a fresh marketing effort could help. I mean, there is nothing wrong with you. People are still happy with your product. People are still happy visiting you, but still the numbers have gone down. Now, it could be two things. One, because lot is happening in the market and because initially, if your share of the pie was say 50% plus, say 65%, 70%, and you are making a lot of money, and something has new happened, which has reduced your share of the pie to below 50%, say 40%, 45%, 30%, which has direct relation to your take home. Because the moment your business turnover goes down, your overhead labor cost and other revenue expenditures do not go down, which hits your profitability. So what you need to do is push your sales back. Now, sometimes because of so many things happening surrounding you, out of sight becomes out of mind to a customer, which is very tricky. So maybe a good marketing to remind people you are still around might help. So people will come back, because if they have shifted somewhere else, doesn't mean they have forgotten you. They need to be nudged back towards you. If the product has suffered due to outdated concept or bad publicity due to various reasons, including quality service of the product, then above mentioned solutions will not work. A fresh approach will be needed, which would revolve around creating a new USP, identity, repositioning yourself based on future trends. Here, you have to take a bigger outlook to the whole thing, because your analysis might tell you no, nothing is going to work now. In such case, you have only two options: close down and get away, or make a new, fresh beginning. Now, it is like starting a new business all over again. Only thing, an advantage is you have an establishment which has most of the thing in place which a new entrant will have to put. You might have bad publicity or something which can be set right, but the advantage you have is a new entrant has a high capex compared to what you have. He has high rentals, high cost of premises, high overheads and labor costs because he has to employ everything new, high marketing cost. All these advantages stay with you, so you can overcome whatever bad went with your business as an advantage, but a fresh approach is required. Therefore, remember, turning around a business fallen on bad days is more challenging than starting a new business. The process of turning around remains similar to starting a new business. So the advantages I have said, but the disadvantage, making people believe that you could be good, is a difficult task. But it can be done, because believe me, I made money doing that. I did make new businesses, but I made a lot of money by turning around existing businesses belonging to other people. I used to take them on lease, turn them around. I used to get places at very cheap rate because they were distressed. I turned it around, I made money. So it could be very profitable venture. Major part of my work was that for myself and for as a consultant. Implementation. Once you have finalized a new idea concept, please verify all aspects of cost, projected profit and loss, time frame, can you have available manpower, marketing costs, etc. What kind of marketing, till you are satisfied that you can afford the overall exercise without sliding you in a debt burden which you cannot afford. When I mean to say work out the worst downside which you can afford, this is what it is. There's a solution you find should not take you into a bigger problem. Solution something is what you can afford. Please realize half-hearted attempts will not take you anywhere. If you cannot afford, and if you think, okay, I will compromise in this, compromise in that, it will not work, because whatever you spend with half-hearted attempt, consider it is lost. it will not get you success. The next step is break down the process in various stages and determine the calendar for implementation. Now remember, time frame is the most important aspect of any business. Overruns leads to overcost, leads to wrong profit and loss scenario because of additional capex, and the whole equation goes wrong. So break down into processes, create time frame, create milestones. Once all is verified and assured that everything is covered to one's satisfaction, then only start physical implementation. So no physical implementation till last T is worked on paper. And believe me, I believe what Lee Iacocca said in his biography. Don't believe in beautiful talk unless you can put it down on paper. Ideas which you can put down on a paper are deliverable. Talk may not be deliverable. Do not start with if and buts plan. It is not dynamism, but sure recipe for disaster. A lot of brilliant people I have met who says, okay, we'll keep on developing, we'll keep on adjusting about interiors, about a concept, I will change this. Somebody gives him some ideas, oh, let us add this also, subtract this. All that is foolishness, because you are destroying what you worked for before starting. So don't do it. Once you have finalized, freeze it, no revisit, just execute it. No changes during implementation. No changes during implementation should be core of delivery. The last thing is evaluation and fine-tuning. Once you have prepared your product, trial runs are must. Just don't go into market without trial runs, because fine-tuning is required. So create evaluation process with a professional approach. Very necessary. Now this professional approach of evaluation again should not be oral. It should be documented in terms of reports or answer sheets or questionnaire or whatever it is. Because this documentation process is necessary to support your analysis for fine-tuning. Fine-tuning the product before throwing open to public should be done. Don't go into market without fine-tuning based on your evaluation. Once the new business starts, a feedback from customer mechanism should be in place, because fine-tuning also could be done based on your real paying customer base. Because all those people with whom you did trial runs came for free. They may not have given you true picture just to please you. So the paying customer is the most important person for feedback. Okay, I'm through this thing, Satyen, and I'll stop sharing now.
Great. We'll come back, all of us. Thank you, Suneet. That was fantastic. Manveer and Tasneem, hopefully you can come back. Tasneem, you're having still the same problem? Okay, great. You're back.
I'm back. Yeah.
Okay. Now Suneet has disappeared. So Suneet, you need to get a video on, Baba. Okay, that was 2 pages and 399 words of Suneet's wonderful leadership management thought process and learnings, which we were not going to get anywhere. Suneet, are you there? Did you hear the good things I said about you?
I'm there. No, I did not. Anyway, thank you.
Oh, but thank you. That was fantastic, and it was only for you that I have allowed anyone in this candid conversations to have a screen share or present something, and it'll only be you. But thank you. It was fantastic and brilliant, and I'm sure that you are going to consider, and I'm sure Sai is going to agree with me that it's high time you wrote your book, which you've been dilly-dallying for a long time. So start doing that whilst you're losing weight. Thank you. So Tasneem, I want to come to you straight.
How do I make thumbs up? Okay.
Yeah, I know you have a very cheeky sense of humor. Thanks, I got it. So Tasneem, coming to you, I want to get straight to the point from a financial services professional. Uh, Most of the times, one would see that a business, whilst what all that Suneet said was right, but most of the times it's also because of financial indiscipline. Okay, and financial, I won't say fraud, but not being careful about managing funds. How often have you seen that as playing the most important part in business downfall?
Oh, that's one of the most or the top three reasons for almost every situation that I have worked or turned around on. Because the way I would like to put it is, honestly, if you're running your own business, or even if you're, managing a business with somebody else, cash is king. And the moment you lose sight of that, I mean, I think that's one of the first signs of distress to show that the business is actually going to go through stress. And you need to, what I would say is pull back the reins and look at things a little more differently, right? Having a very clear and a very steady process to ensure your financial discipline is of utmost importance, especially when you're running a business or when you're trying to manage your own business, either ways.
Okay, and why do entrepreneurs not take financial help when they know that they're not good at managing finances?
So I think it's two reasons, Satyan. In fact, if I would like to, because on one hand, I think I'll look at it differently. There are a lot of, I think everybody today, it's like consulting, right? You tell anybody you're a consultant. I think it's the most abused and misused word as well. Because you have everybody who's consulting and giving you advice, and then you reach a stage where you're not sure whose advice to listen to, right? Because you don't know which is the actual one which will work for you or not. And every person you meet has something to share with you, and maybe everybody calls themselves a consultant, but very few people will actually come back with true experience. So I think that's what prevents people from going with a financial consultant. I think the second thing is also, I think it's also about the cost. And I've seen this in my, previous experiences on consulting as well, because anytime I'd go to a client and, we would identify problems sometimes, or sometimes they would come to us with a problem and we'd go to them to say, this is what we can do for you. And the first thing they would ask is, how much are you going to charge us? Now, I would like to say, yes, the fees do, you have to pay for whatever services that you're taking. But it goes back to a simple thing, right? I mean, you're paying for brand, you're paying for experience, you're paying for somebody who can actually help you manage and turn a situation around. And somebody who's done that in the past, not somebody who said, okay, who's read 5 books and, is wanting to try and apply or use you as a guinea pig. So I think it's a combination of both the cost and the experience factor, which kind of deters people. And I've had, in fact, in the last 6 months or so, especially more now, people coming back to me saying, oh, I went to this consultant, but this is a completely botched up job. Now, what do you do in that situation? Because you went for what I would like to say is a cheap and chirpy solution. The results of that is obviously what you've seen. And now they've paid almost double, or they are paying a second consultancy fee to get that whole business turned around. So my thing is, please go with a person who's recommended, go with a person who's, as passionate about your business as much as you are. And last but not the least, I mean, it's like, doing a diagnosis of your business, running it through series of tests. You'll have to do those tests to understand where the true leakage or the problem is. Because if you're just going to find people who are going to tell you, oh, this is the problem, and use that patch method, it doesn't work.
Sure. Thank you, Tasneem. Manbir, I want to pick your brains on a couple of points. Okay, the sheer joy of starting something of your own, something that you built, right? Whether it's a restaurant or a business or sari shop or whatever. So there's a huge euphoria, there's joy, then there's pride, and then suddenly you see distress, and then there is fear, and then there is a downfall. So this whole masala of emotions that goes through to one person's mind and heart. How have you handled it, man? You have, and I know you're not going to mind me. You've had a couple of hits and a couple of misses, and you're still standing tall and very proudly. So how did you manage that? And just walk us through the little bit of the emotional imbalance or the emotional balance and coming back phase, man.
So first things first, I'd like to start on a positive note. I used to always tell my mother that, you know, मैं बहुत ढीठ हूँ. So I believe that to be successful in business, you have to be stubborn. बहुत ढीठ होना बहुत ज़रूरी है. So that being number one. Like you rightly said, there's a lot of pride, joy. You know, it took me. So I got into this industry to be a restaurateur. Like when I joined catering college, I never wanted to be an executive chef. I never wanted to be GM. That was never the end goal of where I was going. I wanted to be a restaurateur. That's why I got into this. And it took me 29 years. I was 29 when I opened my first restaurant. And award-winning, Times Award-winning. We won multiple awards in the city. I'm based in Ahmedabad, so I'd like to clarify that first. And yeah, we were definitely in the top 2-3 restaurants of the city by far. And like you again rightly said, you know, the pride, you know, the joy that when you get introduced to somebody unknown, and you'd say, what do you do? And you'd say, I own this restaurant. And you know, the whole demeanor of the person in front of you would change because they've heard of the restaurant, they've been there, they've loved being there and all of that. I have to switch off my phone on a Sunday evening. I would take pride in saying that also. So yes, it was a wonderful roller coaster ride. When the downturn comes, you know, like Mr. Pai said, you can see it coming, and for whatever reasons, in my case, there were limitations to how I could address it. I had investors, multiple other things that were in the picture at that point in time. So the thing that actually hurt us the most, which is one more thing that I'd like to say, if there are any budding entrepreneurs here, is that you need to know when to, you know, stop as well. That is equally important. If you, like, especially in our industry where, you know, every restaurant is either a profit center or a loss center. You know, it doesn't, maybe your restaurant or a cafe or a bar has clicked in one location or in one city. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be as or equally successful in another location. So every outlet has to be used as a separate profit or a loss center. And that's what happened in our case. We did a second outlet with a different name, with a different format. And I think 5 or 6 months down the line, it was so clear to me that we can't dig this out of the hole. But the investor wouldn't let us shut it. You know, like my entire solution was to this thing was it's gangrene. We need to cut it. We just, you know, book the loss and just finish it. Let's go ahead from here. The investors wouldn't allow, and that just led to such a big mess that eventually the only logical thing was to shut shop, go our separate ways. In one way, I'm glad it happened. It taught me a lot. It was an expensive mistake. It did definitely teach me a lot though. And yes, like I said, "Dheet hona zaruri hai." I am stubborn. I am going to get into business, hopefully by the end of 2020 itself. And yeah, failure is not optional. It's as simple as that. So, you know, when people say कि लगे रहो success हो जाएगा, that's not really true. लगे रहो success हो जाएगा का मतलब ये नहीं कि खड्डा खुद गया तो खुद में जाओ. You know, you might want to just dig it.
We were losing your voice in the last sentence, please. You want to repeat that if you don't mind?
Yeah, so you know, a lot of people keep saying that, you know, give it more time, you'll go through. Give it more time, you'll succeed. It doesn't necessarily always happen. So it's equally important to know when to just let go of things and start. It's easier.
Great.
Sometimes it's easier.
Great. So one of our viewers, Rajiv Gandhi, says, "Well said, Manbir. One needs to know when to stop expanding." Great. And you know, I'll move ahead. But Rajiv has also a question or a comment. Sunit sir's inputs were great, but there are times when the business disruptions are overnight due to heavy dependency on something or due to an emotional loss as well. Yeah. Yes. And thank you, Rajiv, for putting it at the right time. And my next point of discussion before we move further was this whole emotional quotient versus intelligence quotient, okay? EQ versus IQ, and how important, or which one is more important, or is it balanced? Sunit, could you hear what I said, or?
I lost you in between when you were mentioning about a question or comment by one Mr. Gandhi.
Yeah, so great. So Rajiv, I'll just repeat it. He says Sunit sir's inputs were great, but there are times when the business disruptions are overnight due to heavy dependency on something or something which is emotional or an emotional loss as well. So I was thanking him. You can read his question; it's still alive. But I was thanking him because my next point to all of you was, EQ versus IQ, and are both equal, the emotional quotient and intelligence quotient, or is there a, I'm sure Tasneem is smiling and she says financial quotient is most important, but I'll come to you on that. But Sunit, let's start with you. What do you think about EQ versus IQ, and which of them is more important for a decision-making process?
Okay, to keep it short, I believe there are certain businesses which are done by brains and certain businesses which are done by heart. Ones which are done by heart, 2 plus 2 could be 5, 1, 0, anything. The business is done with brain will always be 2 plus 2, 4. It could be never anything else. Now, the important is what business are you in? Creative activities are controlled by heart because people who think by brains cannot be creative. And the businesses where you put hard-earned money to make profit with business activities, they better be run by brain and not by heart. So EQ is okay for creativity. IQ is very important for other businesses.
Thanks, Sunit. Manbir, your thoughts on this?
So I was once told by a very clever Marwadi business gentleman. He said कि बोले बेटा तू बटर चिकन 1000 रुपए का तो बेच सकता है पर बिकना चाहिए वो ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है. So I somehow took that in. It stayed with me for a very long time. You need the passion because if you don't have the passion, you'll not be able to take all the heartburn that any business will get you. But brain will. Having burnt my fingers, I can safely say that brain.
Can I come in, Manbir?
Please, sir.
Passion and emotion are two different things. You can't do anything in life without passion. You cannot succeed without passion. Because if you don't have passion, you will not give everything you possess to that activity. That is passion. Emotion is not passion. Emotion is something you do on instinctively because you get influenced by thought process, either yours, others, or anything. You can't afford them in business activities where you have put crores of rupees.
No, I agree. Like I said,
so passion and emotions are two different things.
I agree. Like I said, that my investor did not allow me to shut. That was his emotion that did not let me shut. I was clear that you had to do it. So, but yeah, it is the brain has to be there. It has to be the driving force behind all financial things.
Tasneem, harsh words and reality check from you.
So reality check is I could see the passion and the emotion just between these two panelists itself, right? In basis in terms of what Manbir and Sunit both said. But no, it's true. I think whilst you may have the passion and you have the emotion, I think it's also taking a very tough step and cutting the umbilical cord in looking at financials. I mean, like I said, I've seen it in almost every of the 40 odd cases that I've worked on, especially in the last 6 months. It's been unbelievable that, your financial strength is what actually defines or, defines you in terms of whether you're going to make it up the speed bump or whether, it's going to go down further. And then, in terms of when to cut off, because as Manbir correctly said, if it's a gangrene and it's going to, spread and, cause more damage to other parts of your business and to other, businesses as well, I think you have to, take that tough and bold decision of cutting the umbilical cord at that point of time and saying, no, this is it. Pull back, take a step back, relook at, your plans, relook at your strategy, relook at your operations, and then start back again, right? In that context. But yes, I think the whole premise on this, in fact, the whole nucleus of any of these solutions should be around the whole financial strength and how you're going to turn that around. I think that's key and that's important.
Great. Very crisply spoken, just like a financial services professional. But thank you. Thank you for smiling. I haven't seen very smiley faces in financial services. Most of the times they're grumpy. But delighted to know you, Tasneem, since many, many years. Rajiv, thank you for your comments. So what I'm going to request you, Rajiv, is to, this session of mine is very hatke. We've had a power share of screen share given to Suneet Pai, and I'm also inviting people to come and talk. Why don't you, instead of typing, I'm promoting you as a panelist, Rajiv, and come and talk to us briefly about some of the turmoil that you had. If you're already promoted, Rajiv, you can put your audio video on and come on board. We can see you, and we'll be happy to hear your story. Rajiv?
Yeah. Hi. Just give me a second, just having a look at starting my video.
Okay, great.
Hi. Can you see me now?
Yes.
I'm glad to be back. I was part of the season 1 episode with Satyan as well, and I've known Satyan for quite a long time.
Episode 2, season 1, episode 2.
Yeah, season 1, episode 2. Probably I was the only first guy, probably in his entire season that he had, who said that yes, I will go out and I will eat, regardless of whatever the corona be around. So he was very happy with that. Anyways, coming to today's topic, Suneet sir, thank you very, very much for all the information that you have given across. In my case, which I want to share very briefly, it was an emotional loss due to the sad demise of my father, which was something which was absolutely, absolutely unexpected. It was overnight kind of a thing. We did not expect something like this at all. And that was something which created a huge turmoil in the business, because my business was majorly dependent on me being in the core thing, and because of all of this added responsibilities at home, etc., I had to change my entire business strategies. I used to do all India basis of signages for likes of your Vishal Retails and Cadbury's, but after dad passed away, mom was bedridden, so because of which the entire responsibility came on me. That disruption had sort of restricted my entire business purely on a local Mumbai basis rather than on an all India basis. These are certain things which are not within control, and I am not sorry about any of these things that are there. But yes, there are things which, like how you said, you have to find out and you can make some kind of sort of inroads into that entire thing and take a decisive call about it. But there are certain things which are not within your control.
So Rajiv, if I may come in here.
Can I speak to Rajiv?
Yes, sir.
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, Rajiv.
Hi.
First of all, let me say sorry to hear about your father's loss. What is important is, in life, there are things which one can control, and there are things which are beyond one's control.
Agreed.
We should worry, act, prepare, and act upon things which are in our control. Let's rest of the things, leave it to God if you are a believer, leave it to anything if you are a non-believer. But I just heard you said you repositioned yourself, did something else. So actually you turned around.
Yes, I did. I did. I fully agree with you.
The whole process you implemented. Only thing is, you went into new business, but the process is the same thing, that you realized this cannot continue. So you gave up all the emotion attachment and detached yourself from that business, allowed yourself a time to recoup, prepared yourself for a new business, ensured that business suited you, you could afford to do it, and went to it. That is the process.
Agreed.
That's all I said. Nothing else. Simple.
Agreed.
Great.
You did it, my dear friend.
Excellent. So Rajiv, thank you for coming in. It was delightful to hear that. But I have one point to ask you, that whilst you turned around, help us understand very quickly, how did you turn around?
It was more from the point of view that this needed to be done. I had to spend more time across with my family, taking care of my mom now. rather than anything else. And I had to just descale myself from doing 100 things onto just doing 10 things. It did affect my profitability, volumes, etc. But as it was the time of that particular need for that hour that is there, we did it that way. And then fortunately, God was graceful enough in order to get me more number of clients, etc. And things moved on. Satyan, before I go, there is one particular thing which I want to touch upon. It is your personal experience.
Sorry?
It is your personal experience.
Yeah.
You had a business experience with Indian Harvest, wherein I was a part as well. I had seen so much of passion, so much of efforts being put in by both you as well as Meher, but unfortunately, it did not work out. That disruption of business, what you have also gone through, I would request you also to maybe share across with all the rest of the people, because that is something which I have personally been through with you through the entire journey, wherein I have seen you from the peaks of the mountains to the trenches of your valley in your life. And then you have come back to a stage today where you are able to, like maybe think of starting something back again. So I would just request you, after this you can cut me off, I'm fine with that, but I'll just request you to share your own experience with the rest of the viewers as well.
Okay, thanks, Rajiv. Had it been a couple of years ago, I may not have wanted to speak about it because it took me a lot of time to even accept something. Yes, I had to take some clinical decisions. So this was a restaurant that Meher and I were running in 2000, early 2000. 10, 11, and we had to shut it down. And it was purely because, not for anything else, but for the fact that I didn't have the financial discipline. I don't have any qualms in saying that and owning up and taking ownership. Had I had more financial acumen or financial, I won't say financial backing, but financial acumen, I would have probably been still in business. But Sunit covered most of it in those 399 words that he described, So my thing was, it started off with even understanding and accepting that something's beyond your control. And in this case, it was beyond my control was finances. So we won't get into the semantics, but the journey, the emotional journey was very, very heart-wrenching. At times, even we didn't want to talk about it to anybody. Some of you know that. If I put up my palm like this, and I still have a couple of fingers left on who could just hear me out. I never reached out to anybody for financial help. We did whatever we had to do, stood back and came back. That's a very different journey. But very quickly, I think this whole part, what it taught me was there are really a very handful of people who will stand by you. You don't need to go out and ask for help. Sunit is one of them. You are the other one. Okay? And there's one more person, another friend of ours, who were there to talk. That's it. We never asked for money. I never asked for it. You never, if it wasn't that was there because you knew that we were not going to do it, we wanted to do it our way. But the sheer fact that I needed someone to talk to, or Meher needed someone to talk to. And then right from family to friends and extended friends on contact list, they all disappeared, started ghosting us, thinking that, we were going to reach out. We never did. So anyway, that's a different journey. But the acceptance of that, cutting the umbilical cord and being clinical, as Sunit said, so you had to think with your mind. So and I had to take that decision. Once that happened, was then the despair that your fabric is done, your professional fabric is very badly damaged. Could make money for others, but not for yourself. All that kind of drama and self thing happens about yourself. But then you got to move on in life. And to answer your, that's another part. But to answer your last point, which really surprised me, I have no intentions of getting back into business and putting my money now or even in future. So that is definitely not. I have realized my skills and my strengths. I am not getting into that part. But thank you, Rajiv, for coming.
You can take financial help from Tasneem, and trust me, you will do good.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. I request you if you can.
I will.
Thanks, Rajiv. Thank you.
Bye.
Great. So thank you, guys, for your patience. I know, today one is a little hatke. It's going to go a little longer, I know. But anyway, Tasneem, coming to you, and I know, tell me one thing, that how does an entrepreneur or a business person who has no clue of reaching out to financial advisors, Okay, by the time they even realize that they have a problem or a financial problem, they are either emotionally too drained out or they don't know who else to go to. But there are financial services, professional ones that are available. Yes, of course, you need your security and your background checks, etc. But is there a smaller, category of people who could offer services like this to entrepreneurs and businessmen?
So Satyan, first of all, before I get into answering your question, I would say is that I think I would agree with Rajiv. I think you should get back into, if your passion is, running a restaurant, I think you should do it. But this time, please go with help and make sure you reach out to me way before than you did right now, right? But no, on a serious note, I think this is my guidance to everybody else on the call as well. Help is available. It's a matter of reaching out, right? I mean, there is no list or there is no forum. At least I've not seen them here in India. But I know, having worked overseas, there are specific government forums, right, which help you, in terms of turning around your business or helping you with this. And that's what I've been part of overseas. So I would say is that, just the very fact that people who are on this call, I mean, if like I know today, if I need any help on setting up a restaurant, I can reach out to you or reach out to, say, for example, Meher or Sunit or Mandir on this call. I would say is just reach out to the network and ask people, saying, do you know somebody good who's going to give you the right advice, right? And I would give you a second piece of guidance to everybody on the call is, please don't go with somebody who's a friend. Go with an outsider, because what happens sometimes is that friend is equally emotionally invested in your well-being more than anything else, right? So I may say things to you to just please you or to douse the current fire or to, and not give you the right inputs. It's not that I don't intend to, it's just that you're not in a position to listen to what a friend has to say sometimes. So you need somebody who's completely detached, who has a very clinical approach to, to the problem who will give you the solution, so that you're able to listen. And, this person again has no emotional strings attached to you, whether from a business side or whether from a personal side. So I would say both of these two things need to be done, because, a lot of, what Rajiv mentioned, what you've mentioned, and I personally have gone through this, right? Very similar instance to what Rajiv has mentioned. I lost my father when I was all of 20 or 21, I think. I'd not even started or finished my professional studies by then. And I didn't know how to run his business at all. And for me, I think that's my biggest failure, that today I'm helping businesses turn around, but I think I drove my business to the ground, right? Because I just didn't know how to run it. I didn't know who to reach out to help, and I didn't reach out to help as well. So I think that's my last piece of 2 cents is that, please reach out. I mean, you said you didn't speak to people. I would say don't do that. In fact, reach out to more people that you can, saying, you need help, you've started up on your own, you're just looking at some connections or just somebody to chat with, and you just never know what this may open up. Just like the very fact that, I'm sitting on this call today, and you know why, right? You know how that happened. So I think it's just simply that. So please do reach out to people and to the network. It's not that they're going to shun you. People who want to will, but people who really mean it will probably, come there to help you, give you a helping hand where and as required.
Sure. Thanks, Tasneem. My not reaching out to people was not an outcome of shame or anything. It was just that I have always taken responsibility. So I actually moved my wife's almost 30 years of educational career out of comfort zone that she was into, putting her into the kitchen space. And I felt responsible. I felt bad. Now, why didn't I reach out is because I wanted to find a solution myself, nothing else. I knew that, first of all, I knew that I didn't want to go out to anybody. I didn't ask anyone for advice or help when I started my business. So I wanted to close it and on my own way. But after everything was done, the business was closed and payouts were done and everything was, clearly done, right from the andawala to the landlord and everything, and all legalities completed. You still need to talk to somebody.
Sure.
And then when you make those calls, and then people knowing that you are out of business, hound you. But there were 3 people, and 2 of them were on this. Sunit sitting right next to you. There's Rajiv in the show, and there are a few other people also on the show who are part of that thing for Meher and me. They're actually, as I said, I'll still have 2 fingers left on this palm because there are just a couple of them. Yes, Sunit.
Without offending Tasneem, I just want to make a few observations. There are friends and there are true friends. The distinction between the two is the true friends are the one who will tell you as it is, how it is. They are not there to please you. but tell you the truth. When you came to me, sometimes I wondered, did you like what I said? I was happy when you took the right decisions. So it is not the friend or anything. Have you gone to the right person is a more important thing, friend or no friend. The other part, which is most important in any activity, not only business, which I learned when I read Swami Vivekananda. In life, the misery or pain is very difficult to bear. Now, why it happens? It happens, he says, because of attachment. What does he say? The moment you are detached from it, your business or any problem you have, it will stop. Does that mean you do not do things with attachment? No, he says, do whatever you do your business, like Manbir said, with all the passion you have, because without that, you can't succeed. What is important is the moment you realize it is not working with best of your efforts, learn to detach at that point. Because if you don't detach, the pain will continue. Detach, start something else. I did not say this. Swami Vivekananda said, I just follow, remember.
Thank you. Thank you, Sunit. Golden words. Thank you very much. Manbir, I wanted to come to you. You know, is there one single point of emphasis that you want to, or a trait that you want to talk about that is extremely important in times like this? In what worked for you? One single trait that you had to probably, call out.
I've always been a firm believer that, you need to sometimes just take a step back to analyze things. So unfortunately, what happens is when you're in the thick of things, and it's with most people, when you're in it, you only see what what you want to see. It's only when you can take a step back and you see the overview of what's happening around you. Can you analyze what's right or wrong? Can you analyze where you need to get better, what you're doing, and how you can do things better as well.
But is it easy, Manbir, to do that? And in the time that you are in the rut, okay, okay, I don't even know that I'm going to put the shutter on tomorrow morning, right?
I'm sorry to cut you short here. From the outside, our industry looks so beautiful and it's so fun, and everybody wants to be a restaurateur, right? And I started getting bored at my own restaurant. That is what happened. I would.
Sorry, Manbir, your voice is breaking. We are losing your connectivity. Okay, we are back. You can you just repeat what you said, please?
So I would say.
Okay, I'm having some trouble. Okay, so let me do one thing. I'm going to get, whilst we get Manbir back in a bit, I have Milind Kothare, who has agreed to come and share with us very quickly on the turnaround part, something that he has experienced in his professional. Milind, you're here. I'm promoting you as a panelist. If you could come on, make your audio video on, please. Milind? Hello, Milind, are you there?
Yeah.
Great. Quickly, thank you for coming and thank you for doing this, Milind.
Yeah, great. I mean, it was great to hear Sumit talking so systematically about the whole problem and defining the problem well defined in the Word document. It was really exciting. And see, what I think is in the coming, because of the pandemic and because of this, most of the businesses are going to restart and they're going to be reborn after the Most of the businesses are similar to a turnaround story. So what I think is the best is to monitor them very effectively. And what I thought was there are 3 parameters on which one business needs to be monitored. Some parameters are to be monitored on daily basis, some parameters are to be monitored on weekly, and some on monthly basis. I have designed them as a product for my clients. So it is a most effective way. Not that it was not done. We had practiced it earlier also, but going forward, it becomes very, very critical to adopt these techniques very effectively, because you need very tight leash on the whole sales number front, as well as the expenditure in terms of quantity. Say, for a simple example, like electricity points, number of units consumed, or the payroll or the food cost on a daily basis, or a planned food cost, etc. So all these things need to be monitored on a very tightly. Similarly, the weekly performance of the sales guys, etc., can be done, and similarly on the GOP monitoring at the month end. So all these things are to be monitored, and I have developed them into a product form to make the clients very easy, and understandable. Okay, thank you, Satyen. Thank you for all of you. Sharing such a lot of domain knowledge on this. Satyen, it has always been a pleasure to listen to your sessions, and I've attended most of them. I thoroughly enjoyed them. Thank you all of you for giving such a lot of knowledge and share, make the wisdom quotient very high.
Thank you, Milind.
Very stimulating.
Thank you. And I will pass on your contact details to someone in case they need any of your detailing that you've worked out on. Thank you so much for doing this. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, I'm taking one last more person who has agreed to do this. Is Dominic Kostabir. He was just there with me as a panelist a 2 days ago. And he has very graciously and bravely come and agreed to my request to come and speak about a turnaround. Dominic, again, for those of you who are not from the hospitality industry and you're wondering why we are talking about hotels and restaurants, well, most of us are from the hospitality industry. So that's one of the reasons. Dominic runs a institute, and Dominic, I'm getting you on as a panelist, and you can start, get your audio video on, please. I'll be happy to listen to you. There you are. Dominic, you there?
Yes. Can you hear me?
And see you as well. Good evening and welcome again. Nice to see you. I think I haven't seen you so much in 25 years of knowing you that I've seen you in the last 3-4 days.
No. We also met often when your restaurant was on and off.
I was just
off. When it was off, we were on the phone. But anyway. So, Satyen, thanks for calling me in. And I guess I must be one of the most, I don't know if anyone can compete with me on this on the panel, actually, is the number of businesses I've started and shut down. So I was just thinking, actually, while they were speaking about the various, so I had started a catering business early on. Then I switched to another catering business. Then I shut that down, went back to my previous one, shut everything down. Absolutely everything down, including a restaurant that I had started off in Pune within 6 months. And this was 25 years ago, lost 5 lakh rupees, which I had borrowed. I didn't know Tasneem then. And anyway, so then I started off with Hospitality Training Institute, which I still run. And Hospitality Training Institute went into coma in 2008, revived it immediately in a very small way. So 2010, we went international. And now as we speak, for the last 3 years, I've been losing money for the last 3 years. When I'm saying 3 years, I'm talking about 36 months. October will be 36 months. And Satyen is aware I'm already working on another app. So while telling you all this, I also need to tell you that I started off my business with 350 rupees. That's all the money I had. And I tell people that no matter how much money I lose, and I'm losing quite a bit right now, I think I'll be left with 350 rupees, including the interest, even if I do shut down. What I want to share with you all about resilience or staying in there is something not from my own book, but there's this book Jim Collins. Trying to get the name. Anyone out there who knows Jim Collins' famous book? Yeah, how did it slip my mind? Anyway, he refers to the thing called, it'll come to me, the Stockdale paradox and the Admiral Stockdale paradox. And he tells a story about it where this admiral was taken a prisoner of war. And he was naturally, this was Vietnam, if I'm not mistaken. And while being a prisoner of war, he came out of it and he wrote a beautiful book on it. And Jim Collins, when writing this book, happened to meet him. It was just a very coincidental meeting. And he was very impressed to meet him because the admiral was in prison for about 3 years at least. And he said, why did you survive? I mean, how did you survive? So he said, he told him something which shocked him, and he said, like, what did you just say? And so what he told him was that the people who died in prison were the optimists. The other prisoners of war who died were the optimists. So he looked at him and said, aren't you an optimist? He said, no, you've got to be very optimistic, but while recognizing the situation you are in, while not being blind to it. And I've heard a lot of the panelists and even others who came in, including Satyan, pointing out about, it's very difficult to, I like what Sumit said, where you should be dissociated with the business. But it's very difficult to dissociate and take an outside look at your own business because you're inside it. Now, the interesting thing is that people outside are telling you what's going wrong. Like Sumit pointed out, your friends are telling you what's going wrong. You're just not listening well enough. So if you are able to just, listen to people, because you can't hear yourself while you're inside that box. So there'll be people who'll be dropping hints. They can't tell you in your face, maybe. Sometimes they may tell you in your face and you'll misunderstand and may not even approach them after that. So people are telling you what's going wrong. So even when I start off my own businesses or I'm running my own business, I constantly bounce it off other people. And I'm not only listening to hear whether they're agreeing with what I'm saying. I'm listening to the subtle hints that they're giving me that, Dominic, this could go wrong or that could go wrong. And it's my job then to analyze it. So the Stockdale paradox is where you recognize the situation you are in. You recognize the shit you are in, if I can be a little unpolitical here. And then decide how you're going to get out of it. And you can go back to the same people who gave you the hints and they will tell you what you could probably do. You don't have to take their advice totally. You still have to analyze it. So someone may tell you, pack up and run. You don't have to pack up and run. You can ask them, is there a time limit that I could stay on in? You can talk to somebody else, I've been advised to pack my bags and run. Could you tell me what is your opinion? And this opinion need not come only from the experts. Trust me, it can come from somebody who's totally out of the business. And look around you. Ola and Uber have not been started by taxi drivers. OYO Rooms has not been started by a hotelier. Right? So someone totally, it can be literally even a child who'll walk into your business and tell you what's wrong. And I'm serious. Okay. So
Dominic, can I interject you here? And I just, if you could, besides being, deed, as Manbir says, and this jid of I want to do business, what was it? Was it an emotional attachment that made you keep going with being an entrepreneur? You're still teaching and making, you actually sleep and eat and wake up wanting to make people into entrepreneurs. So what is it?
So see, Satyan, with me, I believe even if you're working, you have to treat yourself as an entrepreneur, which is a mistake people are making. Even if you're in a career, you are an entrepreneur in that career, right? You have to take risk. There is no life without risk. I mean, you'd be the biggest fool if you think that I don't want risk in my life. I know of a adventure enthusiast who died today, or yesterday rather, sorry, at 50 years. And he's not died while adventuring. He came home after cycling and he died of a heart attack. And he's been into, life-threatening situations where he's actually put himself out into life-threatening situations. So all of us are going to die. All of us are going to stumble, whether you're in business or whether you're in a career. But if you have the entrepreneurship mindset, that boss, I am going to take risk, calculated risk. I am going to fall. That's for sure. But I am going to stand up after that and keep going. the faith that you can come through it. I mean, people have come through crap. I mean, all of us out here who have spoken have come through crap. I mean, someone's gone through some personal grief. Someone has gone through some professional grief. I know what you went through with your restaurant. I know what I've been through with my various failures. I mean, I've got countless of them. I've just named a few of the big ones.
Thank you, Dominic, for and Milind and Rajiv for, I would say, having the guts to come on the screen and talk about it. Thank you very much. Really appreciate, Dominic. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you, man.
The book was good to great. The Jim Collins.
Yeah, Jim Collins, good to great. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Great. So thank you, Dominic. Tasneem, you've seen the passion from all entrepreneurs, and I know you know what's coming next, right? Tell me, when you and in companies that you are working for or representing, and even going and you've done some big numbers, right? You've funded or facilitated funding, if I may say so, in a very different way, or done a reality check, whether it's a good to go company, etc. There's always the right side of the brain and the left side of the brain, right? So mostly the CEO or the owner is the right side, creative idea, etc., etc. And then there's an implementer in the system. Okay, do you guys really look for that implementer, or I would say executor? How much of weight would you pay to good ideas or excellent ideas versus weak implementation eventually? Or does that not even matter?
No, I think both are equally important, Satya, because one is you may have the great ideas, but if you can't put them on paper, there's no use of those ideas, right? If you can't execute those ideas, and if you're only left with a plan or only left with a thought, again, that's a recipe for disaster. So I think it's a combination of both, and I would say it's a 50-50%. And I've seen these discussions happen in conversations, like you said, when we've talked about funding, to say, okay, yes, there's a person with a great idea, but do we have somebody to help implement? And that's where the private equity or people like me have stepped in to help implement those ideas or operationalize those ideas, right? Because you may have the vision, but if you're not able to execute on that vision, it's it'll just remain a vision, and there'll be nothing to look forward to. So I think it's an equal balance between both what you called as the left and the right brain, which will help you actually put this so-called ball into motion.
So besides that, Tasneem, what is the deal breaker for you to agree to invest or not agree to invest in somebody or someone's ideas, besides these 2 points that you mentioned?
So I think it's also, besides looking at the idea, I think it's the vision, right? In terms of how far are you going to take this vision, and how far is this vision actually going to translate into a strategy to be able to operationalize it? Because if you're just going to have this one bright idea and stay put, I think you've heard everybody on the call, there'll be competition coming in, there'll be technology changes which will come in, and the dynamics of the whole, of what you're trying to create from a product side will all change, right? I can give you an old example. A few years back, I remember I was sitting in a board meeting, and I won't name the company, and I remember telling the company, and they said, we will not invest in technology. And I said, look, there will be a time when today you just have 1 or 2 apps on your phone, which is just the phone and the messaging app, and you will be having 2 phones just to manage the number of apps that you have. And he says, lady, you lost it. I said, okay, fine. I think today that person is actually, he calls me every time he makes, because he's an ardent investor as well. He makes an investment saying, this is the technology plan for the future. Do you think it's going to work on? And every technology or every gadget that you use is redundant after 6 months today, right? So I think it's a matter of also seeing how far you can take that vision and constantly improvise or improve on that. So it's not just having a vision, but it's also moving with the times, right? So yeah, you may have great ideas like the OYOs and the Ubers, but if they're not able to cope up with what's next or what's going to come as disruption into that industry, I think, again, you're talking of a very short stint of a business for another 3 or 5 years. And then again, we'll be having this conversation on how to turn around the business again, right? So that's
sure,
what I like to do.
Thank you, Tasneem. Manveer and Sumit, both of you are chefs, and you have chefs at heart and mind. And we have the great chef Satish Arora also. Chef, is it okay for you to come and talk and say something out of your experience? Can I request you to? I'll be honored, Chef, if you would share something. I have upgraded you to panelist level, if I may use that word, Chef. Oops. Did I? Okay, I think I lost you.
Hi, Satyan.
Oh, there he is. Hi, Chef. Chef,
Hi.
welcome.
Thank you, Satyan. You always are very kind to me. In fact, I had written a small comment for Suneet Pai. Suneet, which I was just going to post it actually. Let me post that first.
Sir was my first and last boss ever.
No, Suneet, I just wrote that I'm really very happy to listen to you. And I'm really very happy to see that you have matured so much. When you were with me in the Taj, I always felt that you will be a great businessman sometime. And
How sweet of you to say that, sir.
Suneet, without mincing words, I'm still looking for a restaurant like Viva Pashchim.
Now going to settle in Canada. My both daughters are in Canada. They are resident there, and I would have been in Canada by now, but for this COVID. So the restaurant, if I have to do, it will be in Canada now.
Very good. I hope I could come there and taste your food.
Please do. It's a place which Punjabis eventually end up.
But Satyan, let me tell you one thing. I'm really very happy to listen to all panelists today. I'm really very happy the positive attitude Manbir has. And I really appreciate that he'll get a great success. And I'm very happy to listen to Tasneem Madam also. But Suneet, I relate more because I worked with him. He was with me in Taj. I have eaten his food. I have seen him working. I've seen him also advising a lot of people. And I will just say, God bless all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chef. Thank you for coming. Thank you very much.
And also, Satyan, I want to say that I missed Meher's demonstration today because I'm in London and there was a time gap and I couldn't see that. I'm really sorry for that.
Don't worry, Chef. She will send you the link. It's already there on Facebook. It was a fantastic cookout that she did on Batkali biryani. But I'm sure she's listening from somewhere in the other part of the house, and she will be smiling if I know her. She'll send you the link. Thank you, Chef. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Satyan. God bless you. And I have always enjoyed your programs. Thank you.
Thank you. So Tasneem, Suneet, and Manbir. First of all, so before we get to the last leg, I want to thank you for your patience. Patience purely for the fact that this episode has been very different. Okay, I've taken the liberty of getting people to come and talk about the stuff that is very dear to everyone's hearts because I just felt it merited that. Okay, so thank you for your patience. Having said that, I would want you to have your bit time of closing comments, not only in sharing the positivity, but even the not so good part about the overall business of turnaround, whether it's in times of COVID or non-COVID. So take your time. We have all the time. There's no time limit, no thumbs up going from me, from any of you. But the good part, the not so good part, and your closing comments on today's topic, and anything else that I may have missed out asking you guys in this excitement of trying to get all of you together and having a lot of well-wishers talk. So. Tasneem, let's start with you.
Sure. So I can only say one thing is, one is, wear your badges of failure with pride, right? I don't think there's anything to be ashamed of. All of us have failed. But I think the important thing is, getting up once you've fallen down and starting to get the dust off and walk again, right? So yeah, there are ups and there will be downs, but it's a matter of just moving along the journey and enjoying the ride, right? So that's all that I would have to like to add as 2 cents. And yes, these are unprecedented times, but look, there is a learning in all of this as well, right? I mean, I think now tomorrow, if there is another unfortunate incident, I hope it doesn't happen. But if it does, I think we'll be better prepared, mentally and otherwise as well, to put this through, right? It is tough times, but when it's tough, the tough get going, right? So I think that's what I just like to leave everybody with a thought with. So, and yeah, please stay safe and be safe. I mean, I'm hoping a vaccine comes out before the end of New Year, definitely, so that we can get all our lives back to normal.
So thanks, Tasneem. Before I move to Manbir and Suneet, I just want to talk to you and tell you from my side, Tasneem, and I'm just saying this don't humor me on this, but I'm serious. I know how good you are in what you do. All right. And I know there are lots of people out there who don't have the capability or the reach to reach out to someone like you or your types. When I say your types, I mean about financial consultants, advisors. Think about getting down and reaching out to people through grassroots levels, maybe through a small little article or a blog, Facebook. I don't know. I'm just throwing an idea at you because I know there's so much of talent in you and some thoughts, lots of thoughts that you have that could help people who can read this. You don't know where it will take, but you don't know whom it will help, but think about it. Okay, it's my 2 bits to you because I think you have lots to contribute, and this could be one channel as well. You could start a blog at all. Manveer, your closing comments, and then we'll come to Sunit Baba.
So I would actually want to request man to do an article of sorts, because when I wanted to grow my business, we needed funds, right? That's the unfortunate truth of our business. We want to open a next restaurant or whatever, you need capital infusion. We went to banks, nobody would give you any money, right? You have to mortgage something. I was not going to mortgage my house. So that's why we had to get an investor on. So, I'm sure there are other ways to do it, but people who are not maybe from the finance sector do not have that much of knowledge of where to get the money from, right? The only thing we know is to ask, beg, borrow, steal, and then pay interest through every pore of your body. So, yeah. So starting a business, as beautiful as it may sound, you have to be ready for the heartburn. One of the biggest mistakes I see people do is they get into, they get this, they want to start business, but they're underfunded. So, your project, you envision 2 CR as a project cost, but you have 1.5 and you will say कि भाई 50 और मिल जाएंगे पर नहीं मिलते. Eventually that 2 will always become to 2.5, 3. So that is definitely there. You have to be funded well enough to start it off, number one. You have to keep in trend. You have to keep up with the times. You have to keep upgrading what you're doing. If you keep doing that, you might not, your business will not get disrupted, hopefully. And if you do, yeah, you will have to take a step back. You have to keep reinventing yourself. I think that's the name of the game. You have to keep reinventing, and you have to keep going. And like ma'am said, if you fail once, it's not the end of the story. It's not the end of my story for sure. So yeah, hopefully next time I'll be in one of the sessions which is a success story.
But this is a successful session.
No.
It's not about negative, and the very fact that you're standing strong and running, and you're doing it so beautifully. So, but I get what you're saying. Yeah, we'll talk about you probably if there is a next season next way of doing this. We'll talk about your growth of being a pan-India chain consultant. We'll talk about that part.
Thank you.
Sunit, all yours. Before I give my closing comments and end the show, all yours, Sunit.
Yeah. I have spoken about turnaround in detail. So I wish to share my experience, which I realized when I advised people why they went down, because I advised them turn around. So one of the reasons, part of the analysis was find out why they went down. And this is for specially talented, enthusiastic, capable people who fail and the business is taken over by experienced person and he makes money. Why? Because all the hard work is done by these brilliant people, but they have to close down. And then the people who turn around and make money. And why does it happen? And fundamentally, I found 2 reasons. One, everything may be right, concept, hard work, everything, but at the end of the day, all comes down to what Tasneem deals with. So I'm going to venture to quote from her domain. First mistake all these great people, great enthusiastic people mistake they make is all the money they have collected is finished by the time they start the business, and they have no money left for any day. That will never help you because your business may not be success from day one. So you have to have a sufficient working capital to see you through at least 11 months to 12 months, assuming that you do not make one penny out of that business and take care of all the expenses. That has to be provided for. What happens is, if the business doesn't start making money from the day one, the outstanding start piling up. You have no money to pay that. And then you get into negative cycle and start cutting corners. And I already discussed that. The second most common mistake I've seen these brilliant people do is because they are not from financial field most of the time. They fail to differentiate between what comes in is not what you take home. What comes in, and then you deduct everything what has to go out. If anything is left, that is take home. People make mistake, what comes in is a profit. It gets accentuated in hospitality business and hits you at later stage because this is a business where you buy everything on credit, which is of minimum 45 days, 90 days, sometimes 3 months, 6 months. But you sell everything against instant cash, check, cash, credit card. So you get money same day. So you don't realize what is your outstanding. And you're so happy till the day you have to start paying. And then you find your book is not matching. So my suggestion, please be aware and never make this mistake, because this is one of the major reasons why brilliant ideas fail, not because the ideas were wrong, not because the people were not capable, not because the location was wrong, not because people didn't like the product. It's just because you did not provide for the business to survive in first place itself. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Suneet. Thank you, Manbir, and thank you, Tasneem. Thank you, audience. Thank you to Milind, Rajiv, and Dominic for coming bravely and sharing your thoughts. I'm super delighted. I have 2 closing comments on this point, very close to me, and I will absolutely make sure that these are the closing comments for this session as well. One is, if you're an entrepreneur, identify what your weaknesses are. Don't think that you have, because you're an entrepreneur or the business owner, you can do everything. So acknowledge what you don't know and try and find out where you can seek help in that area. And the other is, please have financial acumen. Reach out if you don't have it. And there's no harm and there's no shyness in saying, I don't know how to do this, but I have the guts to do this. I am a great implementer. I'm a great executor, but I don't know how to do financial planning. So these are the 2 things that I really want to leave out everyone with. I've had a great session. I am taking this last comment from someone. Okay. What a brilliant learning from all 3. Absolutely thrilled. That's my wife, Meher. Thank you, Meher. And thank you, everyone. Have a lovely evening. Stay safe till we meet again in person. Bye-bye.